Good morning or good afternoon, and welcome to my first official video of Rinse Do regarding the co-living business model. And today what I want to talk about is, this is my first video, so I want to go over who I am, how I got here, and how I'm pioneering in the industry of co-living. I just thought a good way to start out these videos was to just I'm going to do some in my car, do them on the fly. I didn't really want to go crazy doing a studio and all this stuff while I want it to be professional. I believe all the information will be very valuable, and got a busy lifestyle. I don't really have time to be setting up studios, although I will do some of those in that type of environment. So I'm just going to do a lot of them in my car while I'm on the fly, working, doing the hustle. And I'm going to start off with how I got here. So basically, start off with a little bit like my life story, so to speak, so you can see how I got here, and so maybe you can appreciate to where I stepped up to where I am now. Because at current, I have about 25 co-living properties, about 70 residents. Been doing it for 15 years, 7 years as a small business, but really for only my primary residence. And then 7 years ago, I started this really as a business. So let's start off with my life story. So when I was young, teenager, I didn't have a lot of, when you want to say, like, confidence in myself. So, when I was in school, I would always see the janitor, and I thought maybe I was going to be a janitor one day, because that was my fear. Because when I was in school, I really wasn't good academically. So that was my biggest fear. And I didn't really study because I wasn't interested in anything that school had to offer, so I never really studied. Turns out I'm actually a really good test taker when it comes to studying. I taught myself my own methods and so forth, but that's another story. So around the age of 19, I decided to start a landscaping company, because I figured, well, I think I could do this. I grew up in suburbs in Long Island, middle-class lifestyle. Dad wasn't around. Mom raised me and my brother. She did a good enough job to keep me and my brother from killing each other. But for the most part, my upbringing was very chaotic, and it was a little bit crazy. Got into a lot of trouble when I was younger. Me and my brother were into all kinds of mischief, and often I would follow in his footsteps, which weren't good at the time. We both turned out pretty good, but I had seeked out the likes of Tony Robbins when I was around 19 years old, and I'm proud to say that I'm a Tony Robbins student for, what is it now, 33 years. Yeah, that's a long time. So yeah, when I turned 19, that's when I realized that this is when I needed my father type figure. Because like I said, my mom did a good enough job from keeping me and my brother from killing each other. So that was time, to start to get out into the real world. So I started with the likes of Tony Robbins. I got into some trouble before that, and I said I can't go this route anymore. So I started with the likes of Tony Robbins, and I've been doing stuff like Tony Robbins ever since. That's my brick and mortar. That's my foundation for who I am. I always go back to those roots of listening to the, I started off with tapes. Had a yellow Walkman. I would put them in while I would do my landscaping. I would listen to those tapes over and over and over again. That was called Personal Power. Personal Power 2. Then there was Get the Edge, which he still has it. So that's really where it all started for me, as kind of like earning money and coming into my manhood and realizing that I'm an entrepreneurial at heart, and I'll always be that way. While I have had some other career jobs as far as where I had to work for others, I really never found myself staying there or being satisfied with anything like that. I've always reached to entrepreneurialism, and I believe that entrepreneurialism is really the black and blue and the blood of America, okay, which I love, by the way. So I will always go to entrepreneurial-ish things if I fall on my face again and I lose it all again, which, you know, I've done that a couple of times in my life. So that's just who I am. That's how my family is. We're all pretty much entrepreneurial people. So I started with the landscaping business when I was like 19 years old. I worked for some companies. I did really well, and I grew my business to when I was about 25 years old to about 500 residential accounts. You know, this was like cutting lawns and cutting down trees here and there, and, you know, doing landscaping and so forth. I had a pretty big business at the size of 25. I did that for another 3 to 4 years. I grew the business, and then, you know, with the Tony Robbins, I was doing Tony Robbins over and over and over again. He really started to build my confidence, and it led me to understand that all the resources I have are at my fingertips, you know, in the world here in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, in the United States, you know, the streets are covered with gold. You just have to know how to unravel that. We don't, you know, I don't know if any of you have been to any third world countries, but, you know, the resources that we have here are superior compared to what you're getting in other countries as far as resources and things that you have available to you. So somehow I understood that, and I knew that without being into any third world countries, based on information that was transferred to me and me learning through other people's experience. Because, you know, there's two ways to learn in this world. You could either learn for yourself the hard way, or you could learn through other people's experiences. And one of the things that Tony Robbins taught me is that's the best resource you can know in yourself, is that you don't fucking know it all, okay? You don't know it all. And if you think you do, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time. The number one thing that I do for me is I surround myself with people that are better than me. While I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things, as I excelled in my life, and as an entrepreneur, you actually, you know, in the beginning, you got to do it all. You know, you got to be the dishwasher in the kitchen. You got to be the sales manager. You got to be, you know, making the calls. You got to do everything. Most entrepreneurial businesses start out this way. So, you know, so with Tony Robbins, he taught me all this stuff, and he taught me that use resources. So while you can start off that way, you don't want to stay there. So that's the stage I am with my business right now, is I am ready to expand. I'm ready to start sharing sharing my experience with others, and start to help other people. In a way, you know, I'm looking to duplicate myself and to teach people how I've been successful in the co-living model. So with that being said, you know, so I started with the landscaping industry, and I did that for probably about 10 years, okay? Because, you know, I started out as an employee when I was like 15, 16 doing that, right? So probably have 10 years in that industry. By the time I was 28 years old, I was doing really, really well. Had many accounts, many crews going out, had a secretary working for me. Things were going really well. But it's a funny business, that business, because doing it in Long Island, people don't want to pay you. So you cut the grass, and you show up a month later to get paid, or you send them the bills, and they're not paying you. And you go knock on the door, they're not paying you. So you know, you got all these people that aren't paying you because they'd rather go out to dinner and spend your money than pay for the lawn that's a necessity that needs to get done. So I learned that, you know, in that space, it's not really where I wanted to stay. So this was around 2001, 2002. That's when we had, you know, the real estate boom going on then, all the refinancing boom. Had a bunch of friends in real estate mortgages doing really, really well. So I said, you know what, maybe I should try to go into this mortgage industry. So I actually took my business, I subcontracted out my whole company. It was big enough to do that, where I can subcontract my whole company, and I would get paid a paycheck every month from my company, and I subcontracted my business to somebody else. I leased it. I said, listen, here's my business, take it over, you keep all the money, you write me a check for once a month. And this was a hedge for me to say, well, either I'm going to go into this mortgage industry, I'm going to do really well, and then I'll sell my business to this person, or I'm going to go into the mortgage industry, find out I don't like it, and I'll take my business back. So that was my way of kind of like sticking my toe in the water to see if it was something that I wanted to do. So, you know, so I did it. I decided after 9 months that the mortgage industry was the right business for me to be in. I did really well. I was killing it. You know, while my landscape business was, you know, making like $100,000 a month, you weren't keeping that money, right? So it's like the expenses were through the roof, the payroll was through the roof. I was lucky just to scrape expenses by. I was lucky just to make payroll in that business. So that's the business that taught me it's not as much money. That's the business that taught me it's not the amount of money that you make, it's what you can keep. That's the important thing. Saying high-flying numbers sound great, but what are you keeping in your pocket? You know, what are you keeping in your pocket? So in the mortgage industry, after around 5 or 6 months, it's doing like $20,000-$25,000 a month, and I got to keep half that money. So, you know, $10,000-$12,000 was nice to keep in my own pocket, right? So I learned, well, I'm going to get out of this business now, the landscape business. So I'm like, I'm going to sell it. So I sell it to the guy, get out of it. Now I'm in the mortgage industry for about a year working for somebody, and I decide that, wow, this is, you know, it's a good business. I can make more if I open up my own firm. So I wind up opening up my own mortgage company. 2002, open up my own mortgage company, and I'm doing that for around a year in Long Island, and then I decide that I want to move to Florida. So I'm like, wow, you know, I could do this business anywhere. So I actually had a team of people that work with me. My best friend that I hired, he decides, yeah, I want to move down to Florida with you. So we moved down to Florida. We buy a house in beautiful Boca Raton, in a country club on a golf course. 2 master bedrooms in the house, 1 upstairs, 1 downstairs, and then we had a huge loft upstairs, which we turned into an office, and we started doing our mortgage work there. But I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, wow, this thing's fast, this mortgage industry. You know, the programs are coming out, you know, no income, no check, no assets, you know, 100% financing. So I said, you know what, this shit's gonna crash. I was right. So I just kept it small, and just, you know, kept it small. Stood in the house. Me and my partner actually split up after a little while, and he moved out, and I stood in that house. And when he moved out, that's when I had my first epiphany that, hey, I got this big house here, let me rent out a room. So because I had 2 master bedrooms in that house, I said, wow, let me rent out the room. So I just he moved out, and I had the upstairs master bedroom, he had the downstairs master bedroom. So I said, you know what, I'm making good money, whatever, but who knows, you know, in the mortgage industry, you know, in an industry like that, and or real estate, you're always worrying what you're going to make next month, right? So there is no comfort in that type of industry as far as, you know, being a realtor and or a mortgage broker. As you're hustling, you know, I would imagine in this type of industry of a wholesaler, it's the same type of thing. If you're always wondering, it doesn't matter how big that month was, what is next month going to look like. So that was always a fear. So I never really got comfortable. So I said, you know what? You know, I had like one of those pick a payment loans. And, you know, I'm a guy who always likes to maximize everything. If I'm not using space in a house, I'm going to rent some of it out. So that's exactly what I did. That was my first time that I rented. And I took the downstairs master bedroom, and I had double closets. So one was a walk-in closet, one was a slider. So I took the slider closet out and I made it into a little kitchenette area. Okay, so I put a little refrigerator in there. I built a countertop, shelves, some cabinets, and it fit in there perfectly. So not a full kitchen, just a little kitchenette. You know, just like I said, microwave. You had a mini refrigerator under the bottom of it, and you had like a bar stool so you could sit at the counter and you could actually have a meal. So it all functioned like a little mini kitchen. They had their own master bathroom down there, okay? And then it was private, so it really was an apartment, okay? So there was glass sliding doors that came out through the pool, okay? So the person, because I only wanted to rent to one person, the person would come in from the backyard, and they would come into the glass sliding doors. So they were fully functional. Yes, it was renting a room, but really it was an apartment, right? Because they had their own bathroom, they had their own little kitchenette area in there, and they didn't come into my space and bother me for anything. That wasn't part of the deal. So what I did is I took the door, and I changed the lock on the master bedroom. I was able to lock it on my side, so they couldn't get into the rest of my living space. So that was my first time that I rented out something, and at the time, it was like 2004, 2005, I was getting $750 a month, and I was like, wow, this is easy money. Really didn't have too many problems, and the money was there every single month. Money was there every single month for years. For years, the money was there. And it was nice to get that extra $750 every single month. I think I had 2 or 3 tenants within a 5-year time frame, and it was really good. That was my first exposure to rental income. Okay, and so what happened is 2008 rolls around, and all hell breaks loose. The stock market crashes, the banking industry melts down, realtors and mortgage people, all of a sudden, we're out of fucking business. Like, we're done. Like, overnight, okay? Overnight, I lost my career and my income overnight, okay? It was just pretty much done. Yes, some of us struggled to try to stay in it, and some did okay for a while longer. But, one of the things that Tony Robbins teaches you, he goes, is one thing not to give up in life and to keep trying, but what does it mean to really give up? Does it mean that you pivot and do something else? Or do you keep going down, down a different rabbit hole, so to speak? And I like to think that sometimes in this world, you got to pivot. And you got to make a change. It doesn't mean you quit or you give up. It just means that you're using a different resource to try to fulfill your needs. So I saw the writing on the wall a little bit earlier than some, and I ditched the mortgage industry. I had many friends that stood in there longer. I had realtors that stood in there longer, and they starved. I starved too, but it took me a while. So when I came out of the mortgage industry, I started a car dealership, and I had friends that were doing well in the car dealership industry. They were buying and selling cars on eBay. I carved out a niche for myself for a couple of years, buying and selling diesel trucks, and I did well for a couple of years, right? Ultimately that ended. That's another story on how that ended. So ultimately that ended. So now I'm in this house in Boca Raton, and it's upside down. I had a nice pile of cash because I owned that property. I bought a couple investment properties along the way that were, pre-construction was a big thing then, when you would put money down on contract and let them build something. You would put something down on contract for $300,000, and by the time it was built, it was worth $500,000, right? So I had 1 or 2 of those. had some land, so I had some cash. That's one of the reasons why I went into the car industry, because I'm like, hey, I have all this cash. I can buy and sell cars and flip cars. But like I said, that ultimately ended. And, you know, what happened was I went into foreclosure in my property with all my real estate. And I short sold everything. You know, my pivot was I saw what was happening, and I was one of the first ones to do the short sale. I had some friends that stay in their properties for 10 years. They wouldn't leave. I didn't want to be that guy. You know, I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be the guy that said, you know what? This shit's bananas. What can I do in this situation that's out of control? How can you control an out of control situation? What's the best way that you can control an out of control situation? Because the only thing we can do in this world sometimes is, when things happen, the only thing we could do is how do we react to how things happen? You know, like how do you react to some things that happen that are just bananas? And you know, 2008 was bananas. Okay, so my goal was to I recognized what was going on, and I said, you know what, I gotta try to, let me get out of here. Let me short sell this property, or I short sold 2 properties. Let me short sell these 2 properties. Let me do the responsible thing in this irresponsible situation that, you know, pretty much the world was in, or, you know, at least the United States. But I know a lot of people in the world went through the same thing when we had that crash, because when the United States goes down, everybody goes down. So I said, well, let me short sell it. This way I can, you know, take my lumps, clear it through bankruptcy. And at that time, if you were able to do a short sale and cooperate with the bank, they would discharge the debt, and they wouldn't chase you for it. So I was able to accomplish that within 1 year. I was out. Okay, I think I was out in the end of 2008. I was out. And again, you know, this, you know, foreclosure thing went on for a long time. I mean, I know people that were stood in their foreclosures till like probably 2015, 2016. That wasn't my way of doing it. I wanted to get out, and I wanted to start rebuilding my credit. And that's what I did. So what happened is I got out, I rented an apartment, and, you know, I was forthcoming. I said, look, my credit's destroyed. I just lost a whole bunch of real estate. So if you want to look at my credit, you're not going to find anything good. So they say, yeah, we know what's going on. We understand. And I was able to rent an apartment. So I did that. I got a 2-bedroom apartment in Boca Raton. I was there for a year. And then I still had a good amount of cash. And my mom said to me, she goes, you know what? She goes, why don't you, the prices came down on stuff. She goes, why don't you buy something else and you could leverage my credit? So here's one of my first creative finances for myself, right? So I said, you know, this is a great idea. So I stood in the apartment for about 1 year, and then I said, you know what, this is a waste of money, and there's so many deals out there, right? Because everything just crashed. And you know, it's the old adage of the pendulum. Pendulum always swings too far in either direction. It goes, you know, the stock market gets too overbought, and then it gets too oversold. The interest rates got too overbought, and interest rates got too oversold. It's always the same. Human behavior always operates pretty much the same way. So now I'm looking in the market, and I'm finding, and let's see, this is like middle of 2000, end of 2009. I'm seeing that there's like 3-story townhomes that I had my eye on in Coconut Creek, which is right next to the Boca Raton area. 3-story townhomes, 3 levels, 5 bedrooms, 4 full baths, and they were like going for like 180 or something like that. So I was able to sniff one out, and I found one, and I got it for 162. So for a 3-story, 5-bedroom, 4-bath townhome, and these things were built only a few years before. So I was like, wow, this is a steal. So I was able to get my hands on that and move in. And I said, you know what? I said, still trying to rebuild myself and everything. I said, but, you know, I got a cheap mortgage payment. The common charges weren't bad. And I said, you know what? I could rent some of these spaces out, because, again, I already had some exposure in rentals. So I said, you know what? Let me buy this townhome, you know, because looking at a couple condos that I looked at, I was looking at condos, 2-bedroom condos that were like maybe 130. I'm like, for another 25 grand or 30 grand, I can get 5 bedrooms. So I figured it was a really good asset for the long term, for the future. And I was right. So I bought this 5-bedroom townhome. And initially I said, okay, you know what? It's got a garage downstairs. It's got a bedroom. It's got a bathroom downstairs. I said, you know what? I'm going to rent the whole bottom out. So boom. So I actually tiled the garage floor in there, and I put a dryer vent type vent in the garage for an AC, because, you know, in a townhome or a condo, you can't be you can't be putting an AC in the window and leaning it out the window. So I put a dryer vent outside on the in the garage, like by the floor, that came on the outside, so nobody noticed the dryer vent. So I put a dryer vent out there. I tiled the whole garage floor. Okay, I went to Walmart, okay, and I brought a shit ton of pillows, and I lined the pillows up in the garage. Like a lot of the garages now, they have, like, it's almost like a shelf, and I pushed pillows. Like, I think I bought 62 pillows or something like that. They were like $2 or $3 each, and I pushed them in the garage door, okay, and I aligned the whole garage door, and that was my insulation, okay. And then I got curtains. My mother owned a fabric store for a long while, so she mailed me from Long Island. She mailed me a whole bunch of fabric, and I put curtains in front of that. So now the garage door was completely and totally covered, okay. And I hung a TV on the wall. I had a couch that one of my friends was getting rid of. That I put a couch in there, and the garage was now like a living room type of man cave type of thing, okay. And so I had the 1 bedroom down there, the bathroom. Underneath the stairwell that went upstairs, there was a little alcove where I built a little kitchenette area under there, okay. So now I'm like, okay, well, I could rent this out. So I rented that out. I think I rented that out for like $900, okay. I was able to increase the rent on that to $1,100 over time. So I have that rented out, and now I got upstairs. I got 2 floors. I got the main floor, which has the kitchen, living room. There's a bedroom up there and a bathroom. So I'm going to rent out that room on the main floor. So I rent out the room on the main floor. Okay, so now I got the bottom rented out for, I don't know, $900. I got the other room rented out for like $600. So I'm getting like $1,500 right now. I'm pretty much covering my whole nut. Okay, and now I got the whole upstairs, which has 3 bedrooms all to myself. So I got master bedroom, I got master bathroom, I got another bathroom up there, a guest bathroom, and then 2 other bedrooms. And I used 1 bedroom for my office, for whatever it is that I was doing, whatever I was going to embark upon, and the other room I just kind of kept empty. Okay, so what happened was, I didn't have an easy time living there, because I was trying to reinvent myself in a lot of different businesses. I went into the insurance industry and got my insurance license. I got my my health insurance license, and the car industry crashed. I lost kind of a whole bunch of money doing that. So here I am, trying to reinvent myself, and I wasn't making money. I wasn't doing well, and the pile of cash that I had was just going. It was just going, boop, it's just going lower, you know. So it doesn't matter how much saved money you have, you're always going to spend it, so you always need money to be coming in. I don't care if you have millions of dollars in the bank, you never want to see that money just, you always got to be bringing money in, because it's always going out. And the saying that I coined, as you start to make money, there's the saying, it goes like this: the more shit you have, the more shit you have. The more real estate you have, the more properties you have. Right now I have 25 co-living properties. The phone's blowing up right now, you know, broken microwave, you know, people fighting, you know, it's just the constant babysitting. It's just, You know, people look at the numbers in co-living and like, oh my God, the numbers sound amazing. You're going to be a father to a lot of people, trust me, okay? And if you think that you're not going to be, and you think, oh no, my clients aren't going to be like that, you got another thing coming. So anyway, so the shit hit the fan. My cash is going lower and lower as I'm, you know, in that property. And this is around, you know, 2010 is when I got in there for a couple, 2, 3, 4 years, just floundering, not really getting anything to work, trying a lot of things. I started a debt settlement company. That didn't work. You know, working for some companies, making just bullshit money, you know, just to supplement. But what was nice is that I had the $1,500. I had my nut covered on the mortgage, so that was nice, right? So I didn't really have to worry about that. So now I get down to like my last like $10,000, and I'm like, fuck, you know, I have like no money left, nothing's working. And I'm trying, and I feel like I'm a smart guy, and I'm just like, fuck, you know. Sometimes it doesn't matter how smart you are if you're not doing the right thing. And you got to be at the right place at the right time, and you got to know when to do the right thing. And you have to have blessings from the man upstairs. I truly believe that. Because if I rewind to back to the video, and I said like where I was in, you know, when I was younger, as I had no confidence. So Tony Robbins built up all my confidence, and then all of a sudden I feel like I have all the confidence in the world. And then I did really well with my landscape business, and then I did really well with the mortgage industry. And then I was like, when I pivoted, I was like, I'm going to kill it doing something else right away, no problems. That wasn't the case. I did many, many things, and things didn't work out. You know, I don't want to get into all the things I did, but a lot of them didn't work out. And so I'm into my last 10 grand, and you know, I start doing Uber because like I have like no money left, right? And that Uber is very tough. That was in, I think there was like 2015 or something like that, right? So this is like 9 years ago. So I start doing Uber, and I'm like, well, this is good because I could do this Uber and I could try to build something else at the same time. And I did the Uber for like maybe like a couple months, and I was like, wow, this is fucking hard. To make like $2,000, you gotta bust your ass. You're basically, you know, you're a taxi driver now. And I felt horrible. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I cried. And I was just thinking, I'm this guy that has done all this Tony Robbins stuff, and I feel like I have a lot of talent, and I just can't believe I'm doing this. But you know, listen, at the end of the day, there is nothing wrong with working. Sometimes we get into these times where we got to lift our sleeves up, and we got to work. You got to work for that cheap money just to keep the lights on. And the times where I worked the hardest is when I made the least amounts of money. And I think many people that are entrepreneurials can say that. The times when I worked the hardest, I made the least amount of money. And the times that I worked the least is when I made the most amounts of money. However, I am still working very hard right now, but I have more flexibility, right? And you feel more powerful when you're in your own business and things are clicking and things are working. So I start doing the Uber, and I'm miserable. You know, I'm just like, I don't like to use the word depressed because Tony Robbins teaches you not to use that as your transvisional vocabulary. So, but I'm fucking depressed. I'm like, wow, I cried. I'm like, this sucks. So I start to think, I'm like, well, I got this big ass fucking townhome, rent out more rooms. So I'm like, you know what? I know how hard it took me and how long it took me to make $2,000 to do the Uber, and how it was like working your ass off 10, 12 hours a day just to make $100, you know? So I said, fuck, I have more rooms in my house. I'm going to take these rooms and I'm going to turn these rooms into cash. And that's when I had the epiphany of actually making this into a business, because I got rid of my office. I had a big enough master bedroom where I put it in my master bedroom. Okay. I said, okay, now I have combo bedroom office. It's not private, but fuck it. I said, you know what? That office now is going to make me $650 every month. Okay. So, and then I had the room next to it. I'm like, I'm going to rent that fucking room out too. That room is going to make me $650 a month. So now I got another, what is it? $1,300 coming in, and I know how hard it was to make that money doing the Uber, and I looked at it like this: I'm gonna let you stay in this room, you go get me money, and then you bring it back to me. I mean, I know it sounds, dicky, but that's how I felt. Like, I let you stay in this room, you could stay in this room, go get my money, and you bring it back to me and give me $650 every month. You could stay here, and I don't have to go out and do Uber. And I could try to start to do other things to try to rebuild myself. So that's exactly what I did. So after 3 or 4 years, I actually had every one of the rooms rented out in that townhome but my master bedroom. And I was cash flowing. I think it was like after, we had rent increases and everything. I think I was cash flowing at like close to, let's see, I got like $1,000 for the downstairs, and then I think I was cash flowing at like, I don't know, like over $3,000 a month, and everything in my payment was like around $1,500 or $1,700. So here I am making a positive cash flow, and then I'm trying to reinvent myself and making bullshit money. So at least I'm able to make a living, right? So now I'm deciding, well, I want to try to keep it personable. Like, I want to try to keep my privacy. So what I did is I took all the rooms and I made them into like almost little, like, I call it, this is my first introduction to telling you what a hybrid is. Like a little studio apartment. And this is something that I invented, but I'm not going to get into it now. And I do it in my business now. So I took each room, right? And I transformed the closet, okay, half of the closet, to a little kitchenette area. I put the little mini refrigerator under the, under the counter. We put a counter in there, and I put a little mini refrigerator on there, and I put a toaster oven and the microwave. Boom. And I told the people, I said, you don't have access to the kitchen, you got access to the bathroom. And I made like a little apartment. And they were happy because they were like, hey, this is my own private little space. And what was good is because when I rented out these spaces, I didn't see the people. They would come in, they go to their room, you didn't really see them, and then they would go out. Or you'd maybe see them in the hallway, go to the bathroom, take a shower, or you'd run by them once in a while. I actually remember having my friend over, my friend Ron, and I told him what I was doing, and he's like, wow, he's like, you got a lot of fucking traffic going on in your house, brother. What are you doing here? And he couldn't see it because he has a really good job, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, what you're doing is just like, I could never do it. Meanwhile, he actually wound up doing it, because when he hit hard times, I turned him into turning his bedroom into a master bedroom, and he thanked me for it. But that's another story. So, because you hear about living with 5 people, it sounds like it could be chaotic, especially when you're in it. But the way I had it going, it wasn't. I actually had them going to their room. They were self-sufficient in their room. They had their own little refrigerator. They had their microwave. They had their toaster oven. They had a countertop in there. They have like a little bar stool, and then I would get a garment rack so they can hang their clothes. So they were all, and I put a bed in there. They were fully furnished. So they were all self-sufficient. Every one of the places was self-sufficient. So I didn't see anybody that much. And when I would go up the stairs, I had the girl renting the downstairs part. I would go up the stairs. I would never see her. Sometimes I wouldn't see her for like a month, maybe in the hallway or going on, in the driveway or something like that. So I had all those places rented out, and I had the master bedroom upstairs, and it was super quiet. And I remember my friend Ron came over once, and he's like, wow, he's like, where is everyone? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't keep tabs on people, I'm like, he's like, it's pretty quiet. I'm like, yeah, it's always like this, dude. I'm like, it's how you manage things in this world. It's how you can manage things, and what you let people kind of get away with, so to speak, right? So I did that for, a couple more years, and I'm like, wow, this is, we got $3,000 coming in a month here, and this is like, fuck, this is probably like the easiest money I ever made. I mean, it just was beautiful. So it gets the wheels turning, and I'm just like, you know what? This is my next idea. This is my next thing. And I said to myself, well, I want to do this business, but South Florida was crazy, still crazy. And to break into that market with the amount of money that I had, you'd have to lay out too much to get in for my comfort level. So I actually, this is funny because 2015, 2016 is when someone approached me to start doing mortgages again. So I said, let me take another stab at mortgages as just money, but I wanted to go into this as real estate. So my day-to-day money was going to be the mortgages, so I took another crack at it, got licensed again. Ultimately, it really didn't work out, but that's fine because I moved to Tampa area, which is where I live now, about 7 years ago. And I realized that the prices of the real estate were ultra cheap in a lot of areas. I mean, when I first started buying, I was buying 2-family properties for $45,000, $50,000 a unit, okay? So I moved here to be the right-hand man with someone in the mortgage industry, and I had my eye on doing this real estate stuff. So I had, like, scraped up $20,000, okay, that I had in, like, for my retirement. And I talked one of my friends in to be my partner. He's very well off. He does really well, and I wanted to have a partnership, and that security of a partnership of someone who's does well and has a backbone and maybe advisory, and I just didn't want to do it alone. I didn't have the confidence at the time to want to do that. I was coming off a very low time, and I didn't see myself doing it alone. And so I embarked on getting a partner. I didn't have the confidence that I had right now. So I grabbed a partner, my best friend for 20 years, and he told me, he's like, hey, listen, he goes, I could do this business with you. He goes, but I'm not doing anything. And he goes, because he's already multi-millionaire, and he has 10 other businesses. He's like, I'll do it with you. I'll match you, whatever you put in. He goes, but I'm not going to do a thing. You're going to do it all. And I know from being an entrepreneur, listen, anytime you start a business, there's no money to be made anyway. So splitting 50 cents, 25 cents is still 25 cents if you're splitting 50 cents. So it's not a lot of money anyway. So I know that to be true. And then when you go into business and your partners, in a lot of businesses, you could go into business and the sky's the limit, right? So when business is really going really well, you can make a fortune. And there's plenty of money for everybody. So I decided to embark on a partnership. So whatever I put in, he put in. So I put in 20 grand, he put in 20 grand. So we bought our first property in Pasco County, Port Richey, 2-family property. I got it for, I think it was like $95,000 or something like that, or maybe $100,000. Okay, and I did the renovations. I took the living room and I cut the living room into I added an extra bedroom into the living room, and so now I had a 2-bedroom apartment that was 3 bedrooms, and I rented out each room for $550. The bigger room I rented out for, I think, $650. I was getting the next $100. So everything rented out right away, and boom, we were in business. And my business partner, he wasn't sure about the growth. He's like, I don't know how duplicatable this is. And he goes, I don't even know if we're fucking doing something wrong here. He goes, I don't know if we're going to get shut down or something by the city. So, we just floundered within, for months until we bought our next one. So for 6 months, he's like, well, he goes, I just want to do this one. He goes, I want to see whatever pitfalls that you have. So we did the one. Things were going well. Obviously with other shitstorms with residents, which is a whole nother story when you get into the co-living model on the shitstorms that happens with residents and how you have to be the daddy and babysit. But I never, you know, called him with any of that bullshit because, you know, I'm a big boy. I can handle business, right? And the deal was, you know, you're going to do everything. I'm not doing nothing. So I know that. So I always handle business. So after 6 months, he's like, wow. He's like, this business is great. He's like, we're making $2,000 positive cash flow every month after we paid our expenses. And then we said, well, you know, let's go buy another one. So then we bought another one, creative financing, because, you know, everybody gets to get one FHA loan, you know, to buy a property, right, with 3.5% down. So I'm like, you know what? My leverage into the market was I worked for his company. Okay, so like he has a call center. So he's like, you know what? Because what happened was, like I said, I went into the mortgage industry with some guy to be the right-hand man. It didn't work out. I got sidestepped and, you know, just got fucked again, so to speak. So he's like, you know what? Why don't you work for my call center? He goes, do the recruiting for me. He goes, I know you're good at that type of stuff. He goes, you could be my recruiter. I'll pay you whatever, $3,000 a month. And you can start growing the business. So that's what we were doing. So I had my own little apartment that I was just renting. I had a roommate there, and then we bought it. We bought the next one, which is again the one we did FHA. So I had a payroll coming in. I was on payroll. So, you know, for traditional lending, you know, banks love W-2 people. They love it. So I'm W-2'd now. So, you know, I'm making some money for my regular day-to-day job. And I find a four-family property. Four-family property, and it sits on a saltwater lake. It's beautiful grounds, but it was a shithole. Now this property was for sale for over a year for like, I don't know, they wanted like $239, and then they came down to like $215, and all the real estate that I bought in the past is all stuff that people didn't want to buy. So I approached the realtor and I say, look, I'd like to buy your property. I said, but it's not worth $215. I said, I can't get a mortgage for that. The bank's not going to appraise at that. So this negotiating went on for months. So finally, I get the guy to come down to 172. Okay, and I go into contract for 172. And I'm doing an FHA loan, and this was more creative financing. One of the things that you learn if you're in the mortgage industry, the traditional mortgage industry, is you learn about creative financing, and that's why I think I actually had an advantage over anyone else that comes into buying real estate, because when you know how to do the financing aspect of it, that's where the whole thing is. It's not, a lot of people that want to get into real estate think they should be a realtor and say, oh, I'm going to get into real estate and be this great investor. I'm going to be a realtor. It's not where it's at. It's where the money is. It's where how you get the money. So I learned how to do financing with an FHA loan to get this property. As a matter of fact, I had a friend do the loan who owns the bank, and he has like 100 employees, and I had to tell him the guidelines on it because he didn't know. He's saying, no, you're not qualifying. I said, no, you can use the rental income from the empty units as for my income. A lot of people don't know that. When you buy a property with traditional financing or FHA, if you buy a four-family, you can use the income from every single unit except for one. Okay? So I was able to take, because I was only making $3,000 a month, I was able to take the rest of those incomes and add them on top of my income, which sounds kind of crazy, but the FHA lets you do that. And then it just has to cash flow. So to make a long story short, it wasn't easy to get it to close because the property was dilapidated. They call it like category 4 fucking property, where it's just like shithole that needs to be renovated. It's structurally sound, but it just doesn't look good. There was baby cribs everywhere, dressers, trampolines, diapers, all kinds of shit was all that property. As a matter of fact, I had to spend $1,000. That was a condition of the closing, to get all the shit dragged out of there. We had to have a truck come before I would close. The bank wanted to see that all the stuff was out of there. That got me my second property. Now it was time to do renovations. So you know, I found a guy, which is another story, which I'll do another video on how to get contractors. I found a guy from New York. He speaks my language, and we renovated the first one. We put the wall up. We split the living room now into 2 rooms, okay? Because this property was 1-1s, okay? 1 bathroom, 1 bath, and a living room. So I split the living room into 2 bedrooms, and now you have 1 master bedroom and 2 rooms. So now I took that property that guy was getting out of, and he was doing weekly rentals there, okay? I think he said he was like, oh, I'm making like $1,500 a month on the property. He goes, you should keep my business model, and you can collect the months weekly, which I think is a bullshit model. I don't do weekly, okay? So anyway, that's another story. So I said, okay, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm not going to keep your guys. I'm going to like just do my own thing. So I had the holdovers that I had to get rid of and throw them out. So, but I took the holdovers and I was getting rid of them one by one. We would renovate one, then we would do our model and rent it out. And it took us about probably 6 months to renovate the whole property. It's gorgeous. It looks beautiful. I'll put a link to the property. I'll put the ad to the property in the link where you could see it. Now that property cash flows at like $11,000 a month. So that was property number 2, okay? That is when we knew, wow, we're fucking on the map. We got a real fucking business here, and let's fucking go. That's the end of my story. There's going to be more to come. I'm going to be putting a lot more of these videos together, but this is the first one. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it went a little long, but, you know, I'm not a guy that looks at notepads and makes notes and all that bullshit. I just do all my free-flowing. But that's pretty much my first 2, and, you know, the rest is to come, and just stay tuned. God bless, and remember, every month, the fucking rent is due.